Let's talk college football. FanDuel releasing win totals this past week, and the Sooners and Cowboys have the same over-under total, 7.5 wins, meaning they think most likely OU and OSU would go either 7-5 or 8-4 in the fall. Chris?
Yeah, I'm a little shocked by that number for Oklahoma State. I mean, no Arizona, Kansas, UCF, or Iowa State on the conference schedule. That's a lot of the big boys. It feels like the Cowboys can afford to stub their toe a few times in some games they should win and still hit that win total. That said, I think 7.5 is pretty accurate for OU when I was going up and down the schedule. 5 of the top 12 teams are on that schedule for OU. No room for error. It is going to be a tough one going to the SEC.
Yeah, OSU's total going into this past season was 6.5.
Yeah.
And my good friend Robert Allen told a bunch of his people, hey, go to Vegas, load up, and then, you know, you lose the game to South Alabama, and it kind of felt a little dicey. But, you know, obviously they rallied and played really well down the stretch. And coming off 9 wins, now you look at 7.5 and you look at being a favorite, more than likely, to win the new Big 12. What's that number, really? This year's number feels too low, especially with all the returning starters.
So you're telling people go to Vegas?
No, Robert was. And he might be doing it again this year. I don't know.
The early line is out for the 2024 Red River rivalry. It opened with Texas as a 10.5-point favorite. That's moved down to 9.5. That still seems high, and I get why Texas is favored in this one. They bring back Quinn Ewers, and he's only going to be more comfortable in the offense with another year. And they hit the transfer portal hard to replace the 8 guys that are likely to be drafted this year. But I also know that of the last 11 matchups between these two, only 2 have been decided by greater than 8 points, and some of those have had heavy favorites. So a lot can happen in the next 8 months. That's a big line for this game.
Yeah, I'd like to reserve comment until I see what the rosters look like after the next portal closing. You know, you get through spring ball or whatever. I think that that feels a little bit high. Texas had a lot of momentum late in the season. They don't normally play this game late in the season. They play it right in the middle, and so you've got a much better handle once you play 3 or 4 games going into that than you do right now when some things are still up in the air, for sure.
They both will have some tough games by then also.
Yeah, the college football playoff expansion is official, and now it's also formatted. And there was also discussion this week of more teams potentially being involved in a couple of years. For now, those in charge approving the 12-team playoff that will feature the 5 highest-ranked conference champions and 7 at-large teams, the next 7 highest-ranked teams, that is. The top 4 seeds get a first-round bye, and seeds 5 through 8 will host the first-round CFP games at their home stadiums. I like that one.
Yeah, John, as you know, I'm not a big fan of expansion. I love the idea of playoff games on college campuses. That is going to be electric. I also think this new structure is beneficial for both of our local schools. I think Oklahoma State, as we mentioned with their schedule, they have a very good chance. I see them as a top 2 favorite to win the Big 12 this year. Maybe they wouldn't be a high seed with that, but because that's the auto bid. And then for OU, such a brutal schedule. But in the SEC, you can afford to lose a couple more games, and the committee's going to reward you for how tough that schedule is. They can sneak in. Alliance
is that word that kind of people outside the SEC and the Big Ten are going, oh, I don't think I like that. I think that's a bad word. But that is going to drive some of this other discussion, too, because they also talked about a potential 14-team playoff down the line in at least 2 years. In other words, adding 2 more teams and maybe within that structure guaranteeing multiple automatic spots to certain conferences. What does that mean? The SEC gets 6?
We already have conference title games before all of that also.
Look, I love the expansion. I don't think it kills the regular season. People will still be really interested in the college football regular season for sure.